Hello everyone, and welcome to our big comparison of the most popular gravity water filters that you can use at home and some even outdoors. We've thoroughly tested 7 systems, and that's including the big Berkey, oh boy, sending filtered water samples to a professional lab in order to check for real-life contaminant reduction. And today, I'm going to share all of the results with you, among other things, so you don't want to miss this. Okay, first things first, let's introduce our 7 gravity water filters. Probably our most popular model, but also the one that has caused the most controversy, the big Berkey. In this video, we'll try to find out if any of that controversy is well-deserved or not. Next, we have the British Berkefeld by Dalton. Now, Dalton is the company that invented the first gravity filter using a ceramic filter cartridge. Speaking of ceramic filters, we have 2 more, the Alexapure Pro and the proone Traveler Plus, followed by the Waterdrop King and the Purewell, which is among the most popular gravity/countertop water filters on Amazon right now. And finally, the Santevia Gravity Water Filter System with Fluoride Removal Filter, which we wanted to include due to its remineralization filter. A few side notes. For one, some of the systems come in different sizes. So for comparability, we use the 2.25 gallon version for each model, with the Santevia being the exception, which is rated at 2.6 gallons storage capacity. Also, to avoid counterfeits, we made sure to purchase directly from each brand or company or from authorized dealers. For the British Berkefeld, we use the Ultra Sterile filters. For the proone Traveler Plus, we use the 0.5-inch filter candle. For all other systems, we use their standard filter elements. And for the Berkey, Purewell, and Waterdrop, we also added the optional fluoride filters. Okay, how did we test? Most importantly, we took a filtered water sample from each of our 7 gravity filters and sent it to a professional and independent third-party lab for analysis. Based on the contaminant levels in our raw tap water, we could then calculate each individual reduction rate to see how each filter performed under real-life conditions. But before we could do that, we had to set up each system, which we did precisely according to instructions, including filter priming. Now, aside from priming, we didn't process a single gallon of water, so the filters were brand new when we tested them. For the actual sampling, we filled a single large bucket with raw tap water. We then stirred the water in an attempt to distribute impurities as evenly as possible. We filled the same amount of water into each system with enough water remaining in the bucket at the end to make sure that the last 1 or 2 systems wouldn't get a higher contaminant load. We waited for the water to filter through and took the filtered samples directly and without using any containers in between. We also took the unfiltered water sample directly from the bucket. We then shipped all sampling kits on the same day. We also did a taste and odor test of the freshly filtered water. Good news is, we couldn't detect any bad taste or odor in any of the samples. And the Santevia water had a pleasant mineral taste to it. Another test we performed was a speed test. We added 2 gallons of tap water into each system and measured how long it would take to dispense 4 cups or 32 ounces of filtered water. At 11.5 minutes, the Waterdrop King turned out to be the fastest filter by far. Next came the Berkey, taking a little more than 40 minutes. The Purewell came in third at around 1 hour. All other filters required around 2 hours or more to dispense 4 cups of water. But to be fair, the proone and Alexapure would have been faster if we'd used 2 filter elements in parallel, as we did with the Waterdrop, Berkey, and Purewell. However, proone and Alexapure only include 1 filter in the package. Aside from these tests, our gravity water filter comparison is based on a full analysis of each system, including initial price tag and annual filter replacement cost, usability, the filter media and filtration process applied, additional features and pros like all metal versus plastic faucet, but also cons like delayed shipping, bad warranty terms, and frequent user complaints. And finally, we checked each gravity filter for official NSF certifications for contaminant reduction and also took into account NSF testing and other test data. All these factors helped us pick the best gravity water filters for different use cases, which I'll share in just a second. And by the way, as usual, you can check our full analysis, including all lab reports, in this Google Sheet, which I'll link in the video description so everything is fully transparent. The sheet also contains all the product links and some discount codes, which we'll also add in the video description. So don't forget to check that out in case you want to make a purchase and save a few bucks while supporting our channel. Okay, before we get into our lab results and product recommendations, it's important to remember that with this kind of lab testing, we can only test for the reduction of contaminants that are actually present in our water supply. And also, such before versus after comparison of contaminant levels, it's not really an exact science and you won't get 100% accurate results. And speaking of lab testing, allow me to quickly introduce today's video sponsor, US Water Systems. US Water Systems currently offers 2 water test kits, the WaterLogix Basic and the WaterLogix Premium. Depending on which test kit you pick, you can have your water professionally and independently lab tested for more than 100 analytes, including metals such as lead, volatile chemicals like disinfection byproducts, and salts like nitrate and fluoride. The testing itself is conducted by ETR Laboratories, which is the exact same lab we use for our testing. And so far, everything from receiving the test kits to the finished reports has just been flawless. Plus, testing your water with US Water Systems comes with expert consultation, meaning one of the company's water experts will check your test results with you and recommend the best product for treatment based on that, from water softener to whole house water filter. Now, obviously you don't have to buy anything, but if you do, then the cost of the water test will be credited against the purchase of the recommended product. Plus, everything's backed by a 1-year performance guarantee. And finally, US Water Systems has provided us with a discount code for 5% off any purchase you make of $199 or more. The code is BESTRO5, and it can be used on uswatersystems.com. Great, so with that out of the way, what's our top gravity water filter recommendation based on the best overall filtration performance? It's the Big Berkey. Now, we know there's been some controversy surrounding Berkey filters in recent years, and we'll try to cover all this in a bit, but fact is, the Big Berkey came out on top in our lab testing, and it performed really well. We saw 100% reduction of almost all detected contaminants: chlorine, all 4 disinfection byproducts, copper, barium, boron, lithium, and uranium. Where we didn't see a 100% reduction was for strontium at 98%, nitrate at 8%, and fluoride at 67%. Now, 98% strontium is an almost perfect score, and this was by far the highest reduction rate out of all 7 gravity filters. The second best rate was 61% for the Purewell. 8% nitrate reduction isn't mind-blowing at all, but Berkey, or rather New Millennium Concepts, which is the company behind Berkey, also doesn't claim their filter to be effective at targeting nitrate. And so we'll recommend a different product in a bit in case your number 1 priority is nitrate. Now, as for fluoride, 67% reduction was the second best result in our testing. Only the proone system did better with a minimum reduction rate of 67%. However, aside from the fluoride reduction, the proone didn't perform very well in our lab testing, and you can feel free to check out the data, of course. And that's why we hesitate to recommend the proone, even if your number 1 concern is fluoride reduction. In fact, based on our lab testing, we wouldn't use any of the 7 gravity water filters if your goal is to remove fluoride, because performance simply wasn't what we were hoping for. Now, I'll give you a different recommendation soon, but I want to continue with the Big Berkey lab results first, because there's one contaminant that I haven't addressed yet, and that is aluminum. Now, it looks like the Big Berkey leached some form of aluminum into our water. So to be more precise, there wasn't any aluminum detected in the raw tap water sample, whereas the filtered Berkey sample read 1.01 milligrams per liter. And this is where we get into our first Berkey controversy, because this wasn't the first time that aluminum or an aluminum compound was found at such a high level in Berkey filtered water. So what's going on? As explained in the beginning, we tested the Big Berkey not only using the standard black Berkey filter elements, but also Berkey's PF2 fluoride filter cartridges. And these are based on activated alumina, or short AA, which consists of aluminum oxide. And that, according to Berkey, is the stuff that has leached out of the PF2 filter cartridges and into our water. And because the lab couldn't differentiate between AA, or aluminum oxide, and plain aluminum, the AA showed up as aluminum in our lab report. However, Berkey says that this is nothing to worry about, since traces of AA in drinking water do not pose a health risk. Now, is this true? Well, first of all, let me explain that Berkey did not invent AA. Many other water filters use it too, like the Purewell and the waterdrop King, and we found elevated levels of aluminum, or AA, in both their waters. And I should also mention that as you continue using an AA filter, the amount of aluminum or AA leaching into your water should decrease, although that might take some time. Still, is this a health concern? Well, AA is a ceramic and used for things like dental applications, knee prosthesis, and hip replacements. And also, according to 3 material safety data sheets we checked, AA is non-hazardous. And the sheets further say that AA does not bioaccumulate, so it won't gradually accumulate in your body over time. However, the sheets also state multiple times that there's, quote, no information available or no data available for things like reproductive toxicity or organ toxicity or chronic effects from long-term exposure. I also found a website sponsored by the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research that said, and I quote, the oral intake of aluminum oxide over a long period should be avoided, as elevated aluminum levels in the blood could cause side effects on human health. So does this mean that if you ingest aluminum oxide, some of it may end up as aluminum in your body? Also, get this, an opinion published by the European Food Safety Authority, short EFSA, that basically says that the EFSA deems the use of activated alumina for the removal of fluoride from water as safe, as long as you make sure that no aluminum leaches out of the activated alumina. Because apparently, and although rare, that is quite possible depending on the pH and composition of the treated water and the aluminum manufacturing process. Now, unfortunately, the EFSA does not elaborate on that any further, but what they do say is that if you do use AA to defluoridate water, you should monitor the process and make sure that aluminum doesn't leach into the water at a higher level than deemed safe in drinking water. And for the EFSA, that is 0.2 milligrams per liter, whereas for the OEHHA, it's 0.6 milligrams per liter. So maybe at least some of the aluminum detected in our water was indeed aluminum, and that could be a health concern. Or it was all AA, but that still might be a health concern. So I personally come to the conclusion that I wouldn't use Berkey's fluoride filters to defluoridate my drinking water at this point, just to be on the safe side. I might be overcautious here, but that's the bottom line for me. What I would recommend doing instead, if removing fluoride from water is important to you, is using a reverse osmosis system. Now, we've recently lab tested 10 countertop models, including fluoride reduction, seeing incredible results, not only for fluoride, but all contamination. And we've published a video on that on our channel, which I'll link here and in the video description, so make sure to check that out. And if you're not concerned about fluoride, then just skip Berkey's fluoride filters and you don't need to worry about elevated aluminum or AA levels in your water at all. And the Big Berkey makes a highly effective gravity water filter. Okay, lab data aside, what about all the other product aspects? Again, the Berkey filter water tasted and smelled pretty clean, and filtration speed was also pretty fast compared to most of the competition. The Big Berkey filtered 4 cups in about 40 minutes. Only the Waterdrop King was faster at around 11 minutes. Assembling the Big Berkey and priming its filters was child's play, and it didn't take very long. You simply take what they call a priming button, which is like a rubber washer, and you just place that on top of the filter, you put it under the spout, and just flush the filter out. With the PF2 filters, I also turned them upside down to filter the other way as well. Once all of the filters had been flushed and primed, I was ready to assemble everything. So I put the black Berkey filters in first, screwed those in very easily, and attached the PF2 filters on the underside of those. I plugged up the holes I would not be using with the included plugs. I then placed the top part of the tank onto the bottom part of the tank, filled it with water, and put the lid on. I then waited for the water to filter into the bottom tank, and once that was done, I emptied that tank and I filled the top tank with water again. Then the gravity filter was ready for use. The Big Berkey is also very easy to use. You put water in the top tank, wait for it to filter into the bottom tank, then pour yourself a nice glass of water. You're good to go. By the way, and this goes for all of the systems except maybe the santevia because it's plastic, portability with these things is really high. They are sturdy and easy to disassemble and transport with the upper tank stored in the lower tank for compactness. Also, the Berkey comes in 7 different sizes, from 0.25 gallons with the Berkey Go to 6 gallons with the Berkey Crown. And they all use the same filter elements, so you can expect similar filtration results. You can also use a varying number of filter elements in parallel. We used 2 black filters with our Big Berkey, but could have used up to 4. And using more filter elements in parallel won't improve water quality, but it'll increase filtration speed. What else do we like? Black Berkey filters are made in the USA, so just the filter elements. The tanks are 304 stainless steel, meaning resistant to corrosion. What we don't like is that the Big Berkey is the most expensive gravity filter up front out of all 7 at $367 when purchased from bigberkeywaterfilters.com. Now, at least this includes 2 black Berkey filters, and you also get a free lifetime warranty on the system, not the black filters, which are warranted for 2 years. Also, we do have a 5% discount code that you can use when you purchase from bigberkeywaterfilters.com, so don't forget. Any other cons? Well, a few users complained about leaking dispensers, but that's almost negligible compared to what caused an uproar in parts of the water filter community as more and more people became aware of it. And that is for how many gallons Berkey claims their black filter elements to be effective versus for how many gallons they've actually tested them. So Berkey recommends replacing each black Berkey filter every 3,000 gallons. Now, 3,000 gallons is a lot, but at first glance, this seems to be backed by test data. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why Berkey filters became so popular, the fact that they come with all this lab data, which Basically shows that the filters are super effective at removing almost any water contaminant imaginable. Now, while this lab data seems legit, the problem is that there are no official NSF certifications that come with it, and apparently none of the contaminant reduction rates were actually tested for the full 3,000 gallon filter life that Berkey claims. According to someone who says to have contacted the lab that conducted the testing, it might have been closer to 200 gallons. And some of the reports even say that gross alpha and beta and uranium reduction was tested for 50 gallons, PFOA for 25 gallons, and several organic compounds were tested for about 0.5 gallons only. In other words, there is a huge gap between claimed and tested filter life. Now, to be fair, many companies operate like this, even with our gravity filters. Proone does it, Alexapure does it, Purewell does it. With santevia, we're not really sure. And for the waterdrop, there doesn't even seem to exist any lab testing at this point. The only exception is Dalton with their British Berkefeld. Their claimed filter life seems to reflect actual test data. The British Berkefeld is also the only system out of all 7 with actual NSF certifications. But if you look closely, these certifications only cover nominal particulate, cyst, and turbidity reduction. So a good start, but certainly not exceptional. Also remember, the Big Berkey still performed better than the British Berkefeld in our lab testing. So while I totally understand why people are upset about this, Berkey seems to be one of the best, if not the best choice for a gravity water filter. So for us, the bottom line is we recommend replacing black Berkey filters much sooner than every 3,000 gallons. Our guess is that about every 500 gallons per cartridge or 1,000 gallons for a pair of 2 should put you on the safe side based on the amount of filter media you get and the fact that testing showed that the NSF removal standard for lead was met for 1,100 gallons. If you replace every 500 gallons, that comes down to around $185 in yearly replacement costs, which we find totally acceptable. Okay, before we finally wrap up the Big Berkey, let me address 3 more common concerns that people have. 1, the fact that Berkey stopped selling most of their products in California a while ago. This is not a ban targeting Berkey specifically. It's that California had introduced new regulations so that in order to sell a water filter in the state, you have to get it certified for low lead content. Now, to our knowledge, NSF standards 61 and 372 can be used for that. Berkey filters, however, don't have either one. So do they contain lead? We don't think so. At least they didn't leach any lead in our lab testing and any third-party testing we've seen. No, it seems like the people behind Berkey just don't want to conform with what they consider overregulation and everything that's entailed with that, such as additional costs and disclosing proprietary information. So they decided just to not sell in California. Now, some people find this suspicious, and I get why, but again, no lead leaching in the test data. The second concern is that there's been a lawsuit filed against Berkey saying that based on different lab testing, Berkey filters are nowhere near as effective as claimed. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't find an update on this. Berkey assumed that the person filing the lawsuit had likely used counterfeit filters, which, again, according to Berkey, are very common. Now, I can't add much to this other than to repeat the fact that Big Berkey did great and achieved the best overall filtration results in our lab testing, and that we made sure to get our system from an authorized dealer, BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. So in case you consider buying a Big Berkey or any other Berkey system or filter, I think that it's best to double check that you buy from an authorized dealer. Berkey says to look for an authorized dealer logo, and they also provide lists of unauthorized sellers. In addition, you can check your filters for the authentic Berkey hologram. Concern number 3 is the EPA wants Berkey to register their filters as pesticides because they use silver to kill waterborne pathogens. Now, Berkey disagrees, saying that the silver is only used to protect the filter itself from pathogens, which is what many water filters do, and there is no registration required for that. Berkey even sued the EPA because of this. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but what I can tell you is that our Big Berkey didn't leach any silver into our water, unlike the Alexapure Pro, which leached a tiny bit of silver, but which still is not a registered pesticide, and rightly so. By the way, this whole incident is apparently why Berkey deleted any pathogen removal claims from their website. So in case you wonder why their list of lab reports doesn't look like this anymore, it's because according to Berkey, they were hoping that by removing their pathogen removal claims, the EPA would be satisfied and drop their pesticide claims. And that's it for the Big Berkey. So in summary, I get why there's been a lot of debate around Berkey and why people are skeptical, but it did great and achieved the best results in our lab testing among all 7 gravity filters. So I'm really not sure if there's a better alternative out there right now. If you happen to know one, Let me know in the comments. Great, so what other product recommendations do we have? The Purewell. We recommend this one if your number one priority is to remove nitrate and you don't want to use any of the countertop RO systems we've tested. For nitrate, the Purewell achieved 100% reduction in our lab testing. Where the Purewell didn't perform as good as the Berkey was for barium at 75% reduction, lithium 0%, and strontium 61%. And by the way, the Purewell fluoride filters don't seem to have worked at all, according to our lab data. Plus, there were elevated aluminum or AA levels in the filtered water, so if you buy the Purewell gravity system, make sure to skip their fluoride filters. Now, this also makes the Purewell our number one budget pick at around $160 on Amazon and about $140 in annual filter replacement. The package includes a tank stand that allows you to push the system further on the counter and still fit a glass underneath, and a window for easy monitoring of the water level in the lower tank. Now, this is great because with all of these gravity filters, filtration doesn't stop once the lower chamber is full. And if you add more water, it may cause leaking. But thanks to the window, there is an easy way to check how much purified water sits in the lower reservoir without lifting the upper tank. What else? There are 3 different tank sizes to choose from. Taste and odor of the filtered water was good, although some people complained about taste issues. Filtration was fast. We also like the all-metal spigot and handle. Cons? There's almost no test data available, and we would definitely replace filters sooner than the recommended 3,000 gallons. Again, probably every 500 gallons would be a good starting point. More user complaints, clogged filters, and leaking. Finally, if you check our lab data, you'll notice that we didn't test for the removal of waterborne pathogens. So which gravity filter should you pick for outdoor use or in the case of an emergency where you don't have access to potable water? So as mentioned earlier, the British Berkefeld is the only system that's actually NSF certified for cyst and turbidity reduction. But what about bacteria and viruses? The British Berkefeld and some of the other systems have test data on that, but the simplest and surest method to kill disease-causing germs, including viruses, bacteria, and parasites in water, is boiling. The CDC, EPA, and WHO confirm that. And if boiling isn't possible, then you should use a disinfectant like chlorine, bleach, or iodine. These are the go-to methods. You can still filter your water afterwards because boiling won't remove any non-volatile contaminants, but if you have a water source that might be microbiologically unsafe, then we would definitely recommend boiling or disinfection as your first step. If that isn't possible for whatever reason, we would probably go with the Berkey or British Berkefeld as a last resort. Again, the British Berkefeld is certified for cyst reduction, and it's also tested for bacteria removal. And the Berkey has some old test data for cyst, bacteria, and viruses. All right. These are all the recommendations I have for you today. Remember that you can check our full analysis of all 7 gravity water filters, including lab reports, in our Google Sheet. Now, the sheet and the description also contain all the product links and discount codes. You can also support our channel by liking this video and subscribing. And do let us know in the comments what you think about any of our 7 gravity water filters. You can also let us know which water filters you would like us to review next. Thanks for watching.